Summer in the city. The building hummed. Air conditioners fastened high, they bulged from the windows. The landlady, away from her desk, body built new, her birds watched, while a younger man lay beneath her sex. She finished and he left. He was one of three. The need for love erased by her now, her body strong beneath her age. Morning runs, food cooked only from health. As the weeks grew hot, she ran at night. The building full now, with the exception of the top floor, where Aria and the stranger lived, and always the place between them. The last tenant had died there, an old man, shut himself in and cut the walls apart, pulled up the floor for no reason, and destroyed all lines of electricity and plumbing. Renovation was put off, and the place was simply forgotten. The young man gone, her behind the counter, her birds calm, her nose in philosophy. Had she known life was like this, she reached back through time and wished her husband murdered years ago. A child of the city, true blood now. Aria, summer brought late light to her. Quilt over glass slid to the side, the light from out there breaking in the open door while she showered. Her thoughts with the water. She was hated by God. The city had named her, and she was alone. On days when the sun shone late, she wondered about the years in front. The faces in the city, they saw her, a statue that moved. Her heart older in the morning. Out of the shower, foot to floor, the creak. In her closet, she found her clothes. Another night of the stage. When she would tire of it, the city paid her more. In the mirror, her face, the only place without ink, and she knew she was done with it. Her walls complete, the tomb for her father. She dressed, left the quilt the way it was, and locked the door. At the hallway end, she turned. The light from the apartment at the end of the hall, a shadow behind it, from feet to the hole in the center. She remembered only then the man who lived there, and she let the thought go. He pulled back when the hall door closed. Aria in the lift, his mind clear of all plans. He had learned how, while he waited for the city to pull him in. Midnight, lift to lobby, landlady watching him walk, her stare seasoned. At the counter they talked of summer, her new life noticed, paid compliments from his smile. He let the redbird bite in, and he walked into the night. She swallowed him with her stare, and the phone rang, one of her three asking for an hour with her. She hung up and took her birds inside, readied her bed. 2 shots, a pint, and a tall Jack Coke down the road, later than usual, his mind blank, his mind thinking about the city in the summer. Buildings ripped down by light, they reflected the sky, and he knew he was never leaving. He was never leaving alive, and the city used it for blood. The bartender, beads of sweat, the stranger watching the people there. The city packed itself in summer. He sat and drank, calm. Something in his heart, and he had felt it from Aria, from her place while she showered. He had felt it. A bet a gambler would make, the share he would take. How he would put up the bet would mean the hand. The city at night, a gamble. When being hunted, the longest living prey knows the history of the hunter. When it hunts hungry, it could falter. Confident, it would lose the share. Aria, off the stage in the back room, dressed and out the front door. The stranger stood, dropped his tab on the bar, cleared it clean with a 20 on top. Aria walked west. He waited, and he walked east. Aria, walking the blocks to leave the night on the stage. In summer, she would walk west past the building, stop at the edge of the quarter, then walk back around the blocks. The circle back home would put her in the lift just before dawn. The stranger, his mind empty, his thoughts on the beauty of the night, a child of the city, forever in awe, he played the role. The air, the moon high and warm, the faces of the night, rough and beaten, his stare through them to keep them from exchange. The time and night, the exact date of back then, when he had stood in front of the bar across the street, the darkness, punctuated by his shadow. Where his love had gone, he had asked the air, and the city had answered him. Aria, the end of the quarter, her walk back up the blocks, the stranger moving opposite for the building. From above, they were walking the figure of the blocks away from each other to meet at the same door. Either corner rounded, Arya, 4 blocks up, her figure. Another block and he would send the thought skyward. The old man in the field pulled to his knees. The bars had closed their doors. The people headed back, the streets empty of those with places. Pulled to his feet, neck raised to rooftops. He gripped the blade down his side, listened, and moved to hunt. The stranger, a block from Arya, stalling his steps, his mind on her, his thoughts on her hair, her eyes, how he would crush her heart with a kiss. Her long ghost up the block, out of his mind on the street, her ghost being fleshed, his mind on her in the world. Behind her, the shadow moved with no bones. 2 blocks behind her, the stranger watched over his shoulder, the shadow running. It ran east to catch her. It ran against time the wrong way. A gamble, his, the old man. When a ghost must hunt with the flesh of another, when it must gamble, confident it would falter. Taken by surprise, it would lose the share. The stranger, high ground, above him constricted air, a wind wanting to blow him off the street without exposing itself. The old man pulled to his feet in the field just moments ago. It was on him alone. Torso leaned out, running the street. The stranger walking up on Arya. The old man losing ground. The city waiting. The stranger moved toward. Arya within, her face clear to him. The shadow moving. The stranger counting the speed. His thoughts skyward, his arms around Arya. The shadow fleshed, the old man, teeth bared above the blade pulled. Somebody had come to pluck their flower. Do it again, son. This time keep his head for fun. 4 feet from Arya, the face from her, the man she had seen twice in the city. It came to her there, sideways shadow of the wall and hall, up into his eyes, deep, her mind going to work. He was there for something in his heart, eyes, deep, cobalt over hazel. Behind them, darkness, not for her, for everything after her. For what was before she could only guess. Hair blown back dark, stressed by obsidian. He was not part of there. He was part of her. Arya, footsteps behind, a shuffling, turned around. The old man, teeth and blade. First time she felt fear in the city. Overhead, wind ran around the corners of the buildings. Wounded wolf howl. The old man to push past Arya and take the head. The stranger, Arya in his arm, safe. The old man off the ground, lifted by his throat. The stranger let her go, life leaving the old man in that moment. He thought about the field. The stranger stared into the old man, shook him by the throat, and the blade fell to the street. The old man, his body working backward toward death, hanging half broken. The stranger looked at Arya. Her look took its place, and when he looked back into the old man, his eyes told him he would live, and he would only live to tell the city it would lose her. He tossed the old man aside. When his elbows hit the ground, he reached for the blade. He ran off the block screaming, buried it in the heart of the first man he saw. Arya, up into the eyes of the stranger, safe from her own heart. Her face against his arm, he opened the building door. Lobby, landlady having sex behind her door. He raised an eyebrow, and Arya laughed. She counted the years behind it. In the lift, up into his stare, his hand raised hers to see her ink, the black hearts. He stared into her, his smile, nothing there but information. Put her hand down and spoke the first words. He let her know her demons were dead. They only had to die once. Out of the lift, he slid the cage closed. Into the hall, he walked her to her door. She opened it, and she took him inside.